Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with Kevin Nowak, seven figure, based out of St. Louis, Missouri, family owned business for the last 42 plus year in landscaping. So, welcome to the show, Kevin. I just wanted to ask you how it all started for you and your family.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. So my father started our business back in '78 by himself. He was in the he was actually in the steel industry. Got to know a local family of a grocery store chain here in St. Louis. They asked him if he'd be interested in just kind of doing some stuff on the side while the buildings were being built. Got to doing that. Then next thing you know, started getting more contracts. Left the steel industry. Him and his brother and two other friends decided to join in, and they bought a janitorial business. And then we continued on with the landscaping. And then in the early 85 ish, they bought electrical division where we did parking lot signs, hung new signs for grocery stores, such as where we started. And then they actually had a nursery at one time too. Um, as my uncle and other people decided to leave back in the early 90s, they sold off the janitorial and the nursery business. My dad and his one partner decided to keep the electrical. And then about 15 years ago, we had a agreement to disagree on partnership, and they decided to split ways. And I dug myself in because it got pretty nasty for a little bit. And I started off working for my dad when I was at 15. Well, probably younger than that, but probably shouldn't say that. Doing shoveling and sidewalks and all that good stuff. But 15, started doing the pulling the weeds, picking up trash. Went to the mowing crew, then became the crew leader, then went to retaining walls and landscaping. And when I got out of high school, would start doing a community college here. I got into the sales part more on the construction end for working with general contractors, such as going off blueprints. And then me and him kind of flip roles. I took the maintenance on, and he took over the construction. And here I am, 42. Been working for him for this long, and then as of January 1st this year, I have purchased the business from him.
No, congratulations.
Sure.
Mhm.
I've been running it behind, with his guidance per se, but since his business divorce, I've been kind of running the day-to-day operations and all that good stuff, and letting him just do his sales and helping out what I need. But I've been trying to wear many hats and keep doing what I'm doing.
What did that sales structure look like? I know the family taking it over is very common. How did you guys structure that sale? What does that look like?
So we started this process 3.5 years ago. We decided I have two other siblings that don't have anything to do with the business. I knew my dad was getting older and whatnot, so I started hitting around saying, hey, I want to protect, I've got kids now and marriage, and wanted to protect myself, and he understood. And so we kind of do a due diligence with our accounting firm, and came up with a solid number, what the company was worth. And then because I had worked for it so long and gave in some investments over time, he gave me a nice discount on the company. And then we have a 20-year note. But then I have other, if we make certain profits throughout the year, or there's extra cash at the end of the year, I can pay towards that and help pay that down too faster.
Very cool. Okay, so like a seller note, and then there's some accelerated provisions there if things go well.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And then you're just using the cash flow from the business to fund it for the most part.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Right on.
And
I love it.
he's still staying on to run the construction. And then we're going to be just adjusting his salary come next year because of things changing in the days of work that he's going to work and all that good stuff. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I love those types of deals because everybody's incentives are aligned. Like how you do better, he does better, like and vice versa.
yeah, and he's all about, even now, if something comes awry and I need help for a cosigner or anything like that, he's like, I got an investment in you, like you got an investment in me, so let's keep this thing rolling.
Exactly. What's your split look like as far as like maintenance versus construction these days?
We do about 20% construction where we work, and how I put construction is new installed, meaning either with general contractors or like new homes or redoing landscaping at homes or office buildings and that. I haven't fine tuned our stuff to say, this is new construction, this is like redo, this is just modernize. We do about 20% in construction. Snow is a big part for us during the winter if we get it because we're in St. Louis. Um, we're I would say probably another 20%, and then the rest is maintenance and irrigation.
Okay, and you put those two together then, the irrigation and the maintenance?
Yeah, I mean, unless it's a complete redo, or like a new build, then I put that in construction. But if it's more the maintenance where we turn it on, check monthly, all that good stuff, I just leave that in maintenance.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, especially if you're doing service. You're just doing, fix a broken sprinkler head or something like that.
Yes, sir.
Very cool.
We do both residential and commercial. We're slowly diving in more on the residential end. Our fertilization program is really popped off on the residential end compared to the mowing part. But yeah, majority of our stuff is all commercial though.
What made that pop off more than the other stuff?
I think we started doing more stuff in HOAs and picking up homes in there. Where my wife is from, which is about 20 minutes north of St. Louis, they've got a small town, and my father-in-law loves to pass my name out. So I've got now like 20 homes up there. So we're spending a day. So I can't knock it, but yeah, it's just, I don't know if we're just price competitive in that market now. It just feels, there's just certain avenues I've noticed in residential, you can get more a little bang for your buck than you can in the commercial, because commercial is very tight anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like people, a lot of people will push for the commercial because it's big jobs, like big chunks that you get. But the margin's not always there because they're a business. They're going to try to push you down. Whereas residential, if you get someone who just wants just take care of it, do a really good job, don't make me think about it, and if the price is a little higher, it's worth it for me just to not ever have to think about it.
Well, yeah, and I've noticed, with you get into the big commercial stuff, we've got customers that are 45, 90, 120 days pay, and that starts killing your cash flow. And then, where you got residential, we, depending on what it is, we still try to do our billing, middle of the month, end of the month. But when we got it through our system, I can bill their credit card at the end of the month. You get it the next day. So it's way better than turning around waiting on that check to come in.
Yeah, those 45 and up terms are crazy, and we'll turn down the work a lot of the time just because it's not worth it. You're at the float 4, 5, 6 payroll periods just to get your money back.
Oh, we did a fast food chain over in Edwardsville, Illinois, about a month ago, and they say, hey, do you want the maintenance? I'm like, sure, no problem. With their specs, gave them the number. Like, well, your number's solid, but our payment term's 60 days. I said, well, we're going up. And he's like, what do you mean we're going up? I go, well, 30 days. I got to pay my guys every 2 weeks. So now you're playing with my money for 4 weeks. There's got to be some compensation in there. You're playing with my money.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get why they do it, but it passes down to us too.
So when you mark that up, how much do you mark up due to the time constraint that you're under?
So I did this one at 4.5% on top of it. And just I want to work together because the job went great. Our margins were perfect on the construction end. We actually, when we got that one, we got another one with them a little bit farther out of town. It's gone like clockwork. We're not doing the maintenance because it's about a 2-hour ride for us. But you try to work together because you want a long lasting relationship, not just a one and done kind of deal.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have a pretty big service area. Like, how far do you go out from the headquarters? Is it it sounds like at least a 2.5 or 2 hour drive radius?
Well, we've done jobs all over. We're 2.5 hours from the Lake of the Ozarks. We've done the Osage City Hall. We've done Fulton has a college. We've done work back down in there. We've gone to Bloomington, Illinois. Those are kind of one-off jobs. Just if you got a good relationship with the contractor and you can put it in where they're paying for everything, on the room and board and all that, we'll do it. Usually we're just about a 40, 50 miles around from our shop.
I've been getting a lot of folks asking a couple of questions that I've been noticing, and people have been asking, like, what does your system look like as far as CRM, like customer relationship management system? Do you guys particularly use one system over the other, and if so, why?
Yeah, so we when we first jumped into that, we started using Jobber. I really enjoyed Jobber right at right when we first got in, because we were back of the days of handwriting and paperwork and all that, carbon copy tickets and all that good stuff. And so when we went to Jobber, it was a big change, real quick. Took a little bit for the guys to get used to the clocking in, the clocking out, and all that good stuff. But as we were starting to grow, and I wanted more on the breakdown on the back end, so I could see what the properties where my margins were. Jobber wasn't there. I know now they've changed, and they've got a lot of cool stuff I've been looking at. And we switched to single ops 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, somewhere in that time frame. I'd met with Boss back then. I didn't talk to Spire, but I talked to a few other people, and I just felt like right at the time and the price. Both of those are very expensive and all that good stuff. And granted, they bring a lot of different potential to your clients. Single ops has worked, but like I said, I've seen new things with Jobber that I've been intrigued too.
That's what we use for ours. We like it.
I got a couple other buddies that do it, and they love it. I got a good buddy of mine that he uses Service Pro, or I think it's a
Service Titan.
Yes, yeah.
Or House Call Pro is another one.
Yeah. So he really likes it. I think it's once you get used to something, you don't want to break the record and start all over. But that was the biggest thing when we switched to single ops, going and getting the background, breaking my numbers down compared to just putting straight labor in there and all that good stuff, getting my margin. It took me a lot longer and frustrated me a lot longer to get it all set up.
Yeah, do you break it all out by like construction labor and maintenance labor?
Yes. Yeah, I got the tab where it's either Missouri or in Illinois, because we do both sides of the river, both Illinois, and then we do snow. So I got construction, maintenance, and snow. And then we've got irrigation broke down in that also if it's above and beyond contract.
And you use like QuickBooks for your bookkeeping, or what do you use?
Yes. Yeah, we use QuickBooks.
Yeah, because we do it through our payroll. That's where I break them out for the labor. Because I haven't found in Jobber. I haven't really tried to find it, but where you can break out the maintenance versus the construction. But we just do it by jobs.
Sure. Yeah, and that's the way I did it with Jobber too, and it worked out. What I had to do with our payroll company, because ours just through our accountant company, you had to break it down yourself on their spreadsheet, breaking down the hours, and it takes a little bit more time, but it's all there.
Exactly. And how many crews do you have?
We're running right now 35 guys total.
Okay.
And you do something special with your crews too, as well, right? What's the best word to say it? I wouldn't say import, but you have them travel from one location to another based on season, right?
Well, we turn around and we use the H2B program. We have just one shop. It's we're up in North County in St. Louis, up by the river, basically the river bottoms along the Mississippi. And then we utilize the H2B. This is our 4th year using that program.
Yeah, for people that don't know what the H2B program is, can you explain or elaborate a little more?
Yeah, the H2B program is the government program where you can put your name in a hat. You break down your contracts, how much labor, how much revenue you're going to have, and then you figure out how many guys you're going to need based on that compared to how many Americans you have, and then you put your name in a lottery and hope you get pulled A or B, early B. Otherwise, you're waiting for a while, or if they put more visas in, and then you get a visa process for 10 months. We try to put in for our petition for March 1st to December 15th.
Gotcha. And that's on a yearly basis? You got to renew, or?
Every year, like we start our process now, going back through all of our paperwork, how many guys, but then we have to show. You got to show your contracts. You got to show your what you're bidding on, your closing rate, then all the labor and all that good stuff. It's a time consuming situation. We did this with my dad. I love him to death. I wanted this program 15 years ago. He was like, no, we're American. We're going to do it this way. And then we had a great group of guys. But as we all know, 2:30, 3 o'clock comes on, they're done. They're ready to go home and pull in late shifts unless it's snowplow season, and you don't get it much, unless it's worth their while. So I started that process 4 years ago. We started with 6 our first year. Worked out great. These guys came in from Mexico. They blew me away from everything they knew. The quality of work, the workmanship. It changed my whole philosophy. And them, if they get their stuff done, they're calling you, boss. You got more? You got more? You got more? And I'm like, what is this? I don't know what to do. And they just took off, and it was just amazing. Granted, the overtime was there, but their production outweighed it. And the second year, we increased it to 9. Got capped because of when our card was pulled, and then had to wait for Biden at that time had to release certain more visas. So he released 20,000 visas, and since we were close to the cutoff, we were first in line. But we didn't get guys until end of May, early June that year. So it really put a damper on our spring run. Worked with other local companies to help, offset that situation. And then they totally understood because we've worked with them in the past. And then last year increased it, brought guys back from the first year, the second year. And then here we are, year 4. Got 2 of the 3 paperworks in. Last one didn't get in 2 days before the cutoff. I was expecting 20 guys and got capped. Had to reconvene because there's Mexico and then there's the Northern Triangle. And the Northern Triangle is Honduras, Guatemala, and a couple other places. So got in contact with a couple companies that's pulled guys from there before. Gave me names, dropped it down from 20 to 15 just because of getting guys. We just wanted to make sure we had workers here. We didn't get them until the beginning to middle April. Same work ethic. They want to do right, but they had no clue. Very different. Great guys. I mean, they want to do right. That's the biggest thing. They want to improve. They want to do right by you and the customer. But it's a bit of different. Like they didn't understand automatic doors when you took them to the grocery store. So that was very interesting. The first time we took them to the grocery store, they didn't even understand like common courtesy if somebody's pulling something off the shelf to let that person get it instead of trying to cut them out to get what they want.
Yeah.
Very, very different. And I still got guys that some don't want a weed eat, some don't want a push mow, some don't want a hedge trim. And it's just like, okay, this is not like it's been before. These guys came in hungry. Let's go get it. And then, now there's a couple of them that know how to do mechanic work. There's a couple of them that know how to weld. So, there's gives and takes with everything.
So it sounds like you get a mixed bag of a lottery basically every single year, depending on where they come from.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, we really want our guys back. I didn't put anything in for October this go around because you could put them in again and then be grandfathered in for next year, just with cost and everything. I just didn't want to expose myself to that. Wait till see what happens next year. But that labor rate's already increased 10%. So for next year that you got a budget for it, and that's a huge increase from 1 year.
Yeah. So would you say what do the financials work out for that program? Like obviously the labor is cheaper there, but then you have some admin involved for applying for it and all that. Would you say overall that it's worth it, or is it kind of just depends on the guys you get?
I think it's worth it. I mean, the bad thing is if depending on how you depending on your company categorizes the guys when you get them. So, we're kind of generic. We say landscaping. Everybody's kind of landscaping because there might be days where somebody might be doing a wall, somebody could be cutting grass. Just depends on who shows up. The rest of the crews. But in that aspect, whatever dollar figure the program puts out, everybody in your company has to make that or more, unless they are office people or different. If you say this guy's a mechanic, then you label him different. So I mean, it's definitely worth it because these guys show up every day. They don't want sick days. They would rather work 7 days a week to take the money back home. Yeah, I mean, they want to work. So I think it's worth it. It's just it's a big cost. I mean, I would say it cost us this year with being capped and redoing our paperwork. It probably cost us 23,000.
And that's not including housing. You also have to house the staff.
You don't have to. So what I did the first 2 years, I knew a friend that had some houses, so I rented through him. And then these guys, the government through this program puts a dollar figure what you can charge them per day per week on rent, and then utilities are more than above that cost. But the last 2 years, I bought 2 houses and I house them, and so then I get that for myself.
Amazing. So you have your own little ecosystem that you can pay back yourself for housing them, and then have a really nice like uh, flow of money per se, right? Within your business. Yeah, that's amazing. Any other questions on this topic for us that you want to touch
No,
on?
I was going to push forward to, you mentioned the mechanic, and that's something that we're running into now. Is at what point does it make sense to have the in-house mechanic? Do you have that, or is that something you're still working towards?
So we used to have it all the time. And we try to find somebody that was kind of a, small engine guy to, a big engine depending on. Highly recommend it. The only thing what I try to do for 1 year, I had two guys. I had one guy during the day to, blowing out tires or working on stuff during the day. The real good thing is if you can find somebody overnight. So when all your equipment's back, change oil, sharpen the blades, get, load up in the morning, all that good stuff. That worked out great. Just this gentleman just found something else at the end and didn't work out. Right now, I don't have a technical mechanic. We do all of our maintenance, mowers, and all that in house. But then unless it's major, we send it out and we send our trucks out. Just haven't found. I got a guy that does. He'll change brakes and everything. But just because where we're at, he's not. We've been having him more in the field than he is as a mechanic.
And how many crews do you think it makes sense to have that position?
I would say 6, 7 crews, if not. I mean in the. You could probably break it down to 4. I mean, just keeping the flow going. But there again, is 4 enough during the day? Is he going to be busy if all the equipment's out? That's the only bad thing.
Yeah, you gotta rotate in with the backups.
Yeah. That's the only good thing is making sure you got enough equipment so that way you got something consistently being worked on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious about that because we've run into issues with that. We're at 5 crews now, and I think we're getting close to the point where it makes sense, but I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's another expense. Our last mechanic we've had some issues still to this day that he hasn't worked for us. So let's put it that way.
That's funny.
Well, awesome. I know a lot of other landscapers. I've been getting a lot of this question too as well. Like, how do you market for your new clients, new customers? Do you do anything special? Do you running ads? Like, do you think like what's all word of mouth? What do you normally do?
I see a lot of stuff being marketing. We don't. I still do the old cold calling, sending out emails, doing Facebook, doing Instagram. We don't really do any publications. We don't, put flyers out. It's kind of word of mouth. I think we could grow more if I did. And I probably should. I just haven't sat down and looked at the numbers to make sure it all equals out. And it's probably there. You just got to just rip the Band-Aid off and do it.
Right. Take a little risk.
Yeah. So you just basically do just cold calling yourself. You pull in a list, or you just driving through neighborhoods and kind of door knocking as well, and just kind of collecting information that way, or you have something other means that you do it from.
Door knocking on homes, we don't. We'll send out. If I knew that this HOA subdivision president or something, if they got emails, I kind of ask, hey, you got anybody that you know of on that aspect. The rest is more on the commercial end, just calling. Emailing, dropping in, leaving my card, all that good stuff. Still the old school way.
Yeah, it's definitely like the way that works, I think, too, as well. Like tested and true and always tried, right? Because I know your dad did it too when he was a younger gentleman, and you're doing it. Yeah, exactly.
And I always like the name with the face too. It's always one thing to talk to somebody and it's great, but I know a couple guys that they got answering services and they got this and this is automated, and I'm like, that's great, but I like the intertwine because you can read an email, you can read a text message and take it 2 different ways. Let's just go talk about it. Let's be done.
Well, great. So you've been in the business for, you and your family's been in the business for the last 42 plus years. Where do you guys see the future of the business going, like the industry itself? Do you have any maybe take on that, any perspective, Kevin?
It's ever evolving. It's especially with the robotic industry kicking in and all these new, I still think you're going to have areas that are going to end up doing it, especially on the commercial end to cut cost. That's it's a big expense, or going electric. I mean, those are big things. And the other the program is with the H-2B. If they don't increase the number of visas per year, I don't know how many people are going to want to do the 10-month. I mean, especially in St. Louis. I know down in Florida, down in the southern, where it's 12 months out of year, you're busy all the time. But when you get up here in the north and Chicago and up in the east, you only get a 9, 10, maybe 11-month window. Nobody really wants to be laid off anymore. They want to keep working. But then there's other people that don't want to work too. So, it's one of those things. And, just like today, it's the hottest day in St. Louis here. And, 1:00, my guys are calling saying, not the Hispanics, but the rest, can we go home early? I'm like, guys, you're built to be out. You got to be sympathetic. You want to, take care of them. But I'm like, okay. So
What is your thoughts on the robotics coming? Because I've seen a couple of robotic mowers that a couple of other companies have implemented to help them supplement the workload. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what are your perceptions?
I think there's an avenue for it all. I think there's certain situations. I think some will work out better than others. Until they get it completely figured out. And I know, and like I said, that's ever evolving. But I remember going to GIE last year. There was ones that couldn't go across sidewalks. They couldn't go across driveways yet. They can only do such areas. I don't see a homeowner buying 4 of those machines to cut their grass at $20,000 a piece going, really? I can pay somebody guy $50 to cut my grass. But then you got, college campuses, bigger campuses that have longer stretches that can do that, and where that guy could be weed eating and whatnot, and then move that piece of equipment when it needs to be. I think like anything, I think there's room for it. Especially, we cut one for a municipality, we cut along the highway. Something like that would be huge, so you don't have to worry about the trips and falls or the cars and all that good stuff. So, I mean, I think there's room for it all.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of if you're a lumberjack and you have a chainsaw now, it just helps you get through more trees. Like, you still need a lumberjack to do it, but now you just have another tool to help you be more productive.
Oh yeah, and everything's ever evolving. I mean, you got the mulch mules to spraying mulch to all that good stuff. I mean, there's always something ever evolving.
Any last thoughts for us before I wrap it up?
Yeah, the one that I like to touch on is what's your biggest challenge right now? We've heard a lot of different things, but curious for you, what's the biggest challenge for you right now for the business?
Too much for one person. Phil and I were talking about this, a couple weeks ago. It's there's just too much right now with the, to scale the business to where you could add on more. With the way this year's worked, I've got 2 managers out in the field where they should be managing instead of doing this. Just between me doing sales and then payroll and accounts receivable, with my office manager and all that kind of stuff. It's just like that and accounts receivable. That's pretty much it. Just doing too much and making sure the money.
Yeah, being the
I look great on paper. I look great on paper, but it's just like it's not sitting in that account.
Yeah, totally know it.
Yeah, I mean I love what we do. I mean, we're not big, we're not small. And we got a good name. We do a lot of different things, and my dad's always kind of claimed fame. You can't find somebody, call Contemporary. We'll figure it out, and we have.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast, Kevin. I really do appreciate it. If people wanted to get connected with you, where can they reach out to you?
Sure. Our website's contemporarylandscape.net. My email, kevinjr@contemporarylandscape.net. Cell phone 314-393-2777.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for jumping on the podcast. Really do appreciate it, and hope that you guys for watching.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kevin.
Have a great one.
You too. Bye.